Today we discuss season 2 of the live action One Piece on Netflix. Now, if you're a One Piece fan, you're probably already watching this. And if you're not a One Piece fan, you're probably wondering if this is in fact a show you should be watching, which is what we're here to discuss today. Because DoA he's going to divulge his conflict of interest right now.
Oh, sure. So, well, I mean, in my other gaming life, I do work with Bandai occasionally on the TCG side and things like that as well. So there is a loose, not direct, but adjacent business connection here. That said,
No. There is a direct pipeline of Bandai money to your wallet, and this is a show owned by Bandai.
Fair enough. Okay, all right, fair enough. I'm not good at this corporate thing. I haven't been part of a company for 15 years, since 2011. So pardon me if I find my footing again, moving out of the freelance only lifestyle. All right.
So take
I'm running
what
for
DoA
office
says
too, by the
with
way.
that in mind.
Yeah, sure. But that said, I mean, you know that I wouldn't steer you wrong, right? And you know that I get great pleasure out of making Monty watch things that he would never normally watch. And this is, I would say, definitely one of them. But we'll have to hear what his opinion is afterwards, because it's a fascinating show, and obviously, like, One Piece right now is like a cultural phenomenon worldwide at the moment.
It is literally, guys, if you don't know, if you're not involved in One Piece is literally the most sold graphic novel in human history at this point in time. To put this in perspective, it has sold, now it has had many volumes, and this is all the volumes combined. It has sold
over 1,000.
600 million books. So when we talk about One Piece, it is not only among it is the most published comic book of all time, graphic novel. It is also among the most published books in the history of humanity at this point. So yes, if you are not aware of it, and I have not engaged in the manga or the TV show, how many episodes does the animated show have now?
Oh man, it's over 1,000. I know.
Yeah.
I've personally watched at least 6. I think I'm on like 650 or something like that since I started. And I'll tell you my One Piece history right now, so you kind of like are aware of where Monty and I are coming from. Yours is really quick. You're coming from this very fresh. You've never read it. You've never watched it. You've never played the card game. I
never watched season 1 of this show either. So I am literally the newbiest One Piece noob coming in at the start of season 2.
I respect that. And so I'm actually not that far behind you, because I had heard of One Piece obviously over the years and all that, but I'd never read it. I had never, really engaged with it until I was asked to commentate the One Piece card game. And then because I take that stuff seriously, obviously I always have, as I was learning the card game, I started watching the show. I started reading the manga a little bit because I'm like, well, if I'm going to talk about this game, I need to understand the lore. I need to understand the world. I need to understand the culture, the fandom, and I need to understand like why it's so big, right? So I came into it from kind of an academic standpoint, I guess you could say, where I was learning about it for the purpose of doing a better job as a card game caster. And I enjoyed the game. It was never my favorite card game in the world, but like I do like it a lot. I think it's got a lot of interesting like mathy depth to it. But I watched the show and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. It's a cool piratey thing. There's like a lot of uniqueness to the world and all that. And then I got to an arc called Marineford. And then I was like, oh, wow. Okay, this is great. I understand the fandom now. I understand why people get so attached to this. And I was kind of hooked after that. So I kept watching. And I do occasionally commentate the card game still, but not like a ton. It's not like a big priority for me anymore. But I'm still watching this. I'm still kind of grinding my way through the cartoon, everything through the anime. My bad. And I get it. It's like what appeals to me with One Piece is just the incredible world building that exists. I'm more of a fan of the fantasy world that's been constructed than the individual characters, the individual storylines, or something like that. We'll get into all that later. But suffice to say, I think I get it. I think it's really cool now. And I wasn't sure which way I would go when I started learning about it. And so, yeah, it's been cool to kind of like become not a mega fan, but like a bit of a fan and just understand the fandom, So coming into season 2, I like season 1. I was excited for season 2 of the live action Netflix show, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And man, where to start? Because again, it's like hitting at this like cultural like milestone. What would you call it? Where it's like it is the zenith of the popularity of this IP. And you've got this show, which I would say is definitely the best live action anime adaptation that's ever been made. And the singular reason, Monty, in my opinion, why this is the best is because no other live action version of an anime goes so hard in terms of like trying to be absolutely cartoon accurate in every single sense.
For being so nice to me and everything you've done. But I'm a reindeer. I have hooves and antlers and a blue nose. I'm not a human like the rest of you. I could never be part of your group. It's impossible.
Just shut up and come with us!
Well,
like,
I think it's also very
amazing.
important to mention that the artist and writer of One Piece, Eiichiro Oda, is also a producer on this show and is heavily involved in its creation, which means that it's actually, he approves of this show's vision, which I think is extremely important, and gives a ton of feedback, according to the interviews and stuff that I've seen, and is very, very heavily involved in the process of this show's creation. Even the visual aesthetic. I've seen interviews with him where when the producers are having a character that may be mentioned in One Piece but actually isn't represented in the manga or the show, he will then draw them what he wants that character to look like, and then they make the costume based on that. So
he does have the final say on everything from what I've heard,
yes.
Which is good. This is good.
Yes.
Turns out if you have this genius who wrote this thing and you're trying to make a live action adaptation of it, it's probably good to include his opinion on things. Other shows, Game of Thrones, or not, and also Wheel of Time, Wheel of Time more than anything.
I mean, Robert Jordan's dead, so there was nothing you could do about that one.
But Brandon Sanderson is alive and well, and he's the one who used the notes to finish the series, and he has a large degree of authority, I think, on how that show should be. And they had him as a consultant on the first season, and according to him, more or less, he was ignored, and so he left at the end of the first season. Like, all right, good luck, guys. And the show was bad. But anyway, thankfully for One Piece, this is not the case, because it is excellent in the way it strives to be just so show accurate, and like in every single way. Like the costumes are the things that I think love the most about the show, because again, like they are so uncompromising. If the character has like a haircut that is just straight up like across, the doctor guy in this season, that's his haircut. That's just how it's going to be. And we're going to find a way to do it live action, and it's going to be the same size as it is in the comic, and it doesn't matter. It's just going to be that way on screen, and you're going to like it.
Yeah, they definitely don't try and go for realism. And I think this is where, if you are coming into this new and you haven't been involved in One Piece, it will be, if you are me, quite jarring. But
yeah,
because this isn't, if you think about anime, this isn't also one of the more realistic animes. This is like a really visually, creatively out there anime. It is at its core a postmodern pastiche that is incorporating influences globally throughout history, and also is amping them up to an absurd degree. It is very naked in its ridiculousness, and it revels in it, which is fun.
Oh, yes.
Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I think it's part of the charm of it is that it is so absurd. But to even attempt to do this particular show in live action is almost unbelievably ambitious. And also, there were probably a million ways this show could have gone wrong. And yet, Netflix has thrown a massive budget at this show. It looks insane. Like, I was blown away because, I knew a little bit about One Piece conceptually, DoA, which is why when I heard the first season getting a lot of praise, I was just like, it can't be that interesting because how could they possibly do this well?
Right.
And I think ultimately I would encourage people to try the live action show and give it a couple of episodes, because you have to get used to seeing things be so absurd. But once you, I think, settle into once you like buy into the world and the characters and you get used to it, it becomes very, very fun. And it has so much going for it in terms of the casting. I mean, we'll talk about all this. The casting is amazing. Like the actors sell it hard, and they're chewing on the scenery and they're being completely ridiculous. But because everyone is doing it, it becomes really funny.
Yes. This is exactly what I tell people. That's exactly what I tell people why this show works. The number one reason why this show works is because of the actors. Because if you had a single actor on that show that wasn't giving like 110% at being exactly who the character should be from cartoon to screen, if you had one actor on that show that was just like a little bit self-conscious or a little bit just not, giving it their all, it would not work. But every single actor on this show is just more committed to their role than I think I've ever seen in any television show or movie in the history of mankind.
It's also a credit to the direction of the show that they're getting these performances. It's almost like you can hear the director off screen being like, no, you have to be even more ridiculous.
And turn up to 11,
because everybody is doing it. It ends up being really funny.
Careful who you trust.
Enchanting vertigo dance.
It is at its core also, it's a shonen manga, and a shonen manga is like Naruto. It's the same Japanese. It's a manga for boys, effectively, like children, and you have to understand that it's going to have the same themes that all of these shows do, which is, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm never going to give up. I want to be the best. It's literally, I mean, this is like Naruto. It's every iteration of this.
Young person has a big dream and needs to get incrementally stronger by beating incrementally stronger people to
Dragon
achieve
Ball
said
Z,
dream. Yes.
Do you have a dream, Dolly?
I'm going to find the One Piece, and I will be king of the pirates!
Yeah. And we've talked about this separately, but I am not averse to these kind of narratives, and I have called Cobra Kai as like the best shonen, anime series of its time.
Similar.
And Cobra Kai is like really similar. So I would say if you liked Cobra Kai, this is obviously a more out there version of that. Cobra Kai is at least somewhat grounded in some kind of reality. This is the trippy fantasy version of that concept. But I think what makes it fun is that the rules that the world sets around the superpowers gained from devil fruits, which are all just completely nonsensical.
Oh, you have no idea.
Arbitrary.
You have no idea the depths of insanity that devil fruit powers bestow at this point.
But that's what's fun, right? I think part of the delight of the show is that when you get a new devil fruit user, their powers could be anything. And that includes in this show a guy with a metal jaw who eats people, turns them into monsters, and then like shoots a cannon out of his mouth. It includes a guy who has explosive boogers that he flicks at people. It includes
he can make anything he flicks explosive. It's just he chooses to use boogers because they're readily accessible. It's very practical, really.
It's a guy who has candle wax powers, who shoots wax that hardens into steel. Why it's wax instead of just steel, who knows?
Who cares? Who cares? It's just awesome.
You wonder.
You have a reindeer that ate the
liquid steel, but instead it's candle wax with none of the properties of candle wax, which is why would it be candle wax? But
the
anyway,
point is that it's
you
weirder,
can't think about
which makes it better. That's why you have a reindeer that ate the human fruit, and so gained the power to become humanoid in various ways, like. Oh, there's also different classifications of devil fruit powers, Monty, by the way. There's I know the Zoan type is the one that gives you like animal powers or whatever. There'll be, and we're going to, for those of you who are watching, there will be spoilers for like the cartoon in here and there, up to like episode 600 something maybe, So if you're worried about that, then, watch out. But then again, it's been out for like over a decade already. So, I have no sympathy for you. And if you play the card game like I did, I was spoiling everything before it happened too, because it's just in the card game. But there's a guy who eats a devil fruit and then he can turn into a giraffe. And like, you'd think he'd be kind of embarrassed, but he loves it. I've got some clips to send you later on that front. But it just gets cool. And some of the devil fruit powers are like some of them are weird and wacky, and other ones are just like really cool in the show too. So it's just this great sort of mystery box that is in the show where it's like you just never know what's going to happen when somebody eats one or when somebody has a devil fruit power. Like Nico Robin has the ability to like sprout parts of her like body out from any surface she wants to, so she can make like a bunch of arms come out of like people or walls or whatever, and
which
do all
looks
sorts
really
of freaky
cool
things.
in the show.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just great. You just never know.
Yeah, and as a result of these effects, you would think, okay, well, this would have to be executed amazingly well because these are all entirely wild things that were designed to be drawn or animated. And if it wasn't really good production value, it could look super janky, but they all look incredible. And I think like everything about this show, if you did not spend an obscene amount of money and get the right people to direct this and the right people to do art direction for this, it would be a total disaster. But instead, this show is incredible in its scope because you also have, because the characters are on a ship, they're pirates on a ship going from island to island, and each island is entirely distinct from the one before it. So in this show, for example, over this 8-episode season, you have what is effectively a Wild West set, and you have a Western narrative. And then they go to a mountainous snow set with a medieval.
Well, you're forgetting the prehistoric.
The prehistoric. Yes, the prehistoric. They literally have a Jurassic Park prehistoric island with dinosaurs and giants on it. And then they go to the Drum Kingdom, which is this huge snowy mountain with a medieval style castle. And the fact that they built all of these things for one season of a show, and it's not just the exterior. They were building, if you can look behind the scenes, it's all practical sets. They're building real towns, like on Whiskey Peak, the Wild West town. And then you look at the saloon they build, which is a multi-story insane set with crazy detail. The lighthouse set that they have in the whale episode also has an insane amount of detail. Like, it looks so real because it is real. They built Logue Town, which was based off of Florence. And so you have this Italian city, and these sets are massive, expansive, incredibly well done. Same thing with the costumes. You mentioned the hair and the makeup being exactly like it is in the drawings, which is physically impossible, but it looks really good. None of it looks cheap. None of it looks bad. It looks amazing.
There's just no free passes for the people who are making the show either, because the telephones are snails. Like, you don't get anything easy. There's nothing easy in this show. Like, could we just have normal telephones? Like, nope, they're going to be talking snails. And like, I love it. Like
and they're practical effects too. It looks great.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's this great puppetry. They look amazing, but and they didn't cheap out on anything. They didn't. A lot of other shows could have been like, well, okay, but we're just going to use regular telephones because, man, who cares about the snails, right? But like, the fans do care, and the fact that you've put that in there and you've been true to it, just elevates it to this level. And you were talking about, just the quality of everything, and what it reminded you of. To me, go with me on a second for a second on this, but this show reminds me of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, because it is another sort of perfect storm of acting talent, of special effects talent, of set building talent. Like, everybody working on this show is so good at doing exactly what it takes to make this show incredible, that it's all just coming together in this like perfect storm of talent to make something that is going to just be like landmark. People are going to be talking about this live action show for decades, right? At least, it really feels the same way when I watched Lord of the Rings and I was like, I can't imagine this being done better than I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah, and it'll hold up too, because it doesn't rely on CGI. Like, you have to have Chopper be CGI.
Yeah,
that's not
even
Tony
Chopper looks great though.
He looks great, but I mean, if you
for a CG
look
character,
at things that could age badly, Like none of this is going to age badly because it's all super, super well done practical effects and them filming on real sets and things that look and interact in a real fashion.
Well,
In the same way that Lord of the Rings did exactly that with a billion orc extras and hand making all the armor. It's like the craftsmanship in this show is nutty. Like, and I think purely if you are into world building in TV and film, you should watch this just to experience the environments and the costumes and the sets and the choices that are made. And it doesn't stop there. You say, okay, well, maybe they cheaped out in other parts. Nope. The fight scenes, absolutely amazing. Incredibly creative fight choreography because you have all of these people with insane powers. And they do many of these fights just with choreography, no CGI. The Zoro's 1 versus 100 fight scene in the Old West Saloon.
They actually did it. It was,
it's just amazing. Like it is just straight up insane fight choreography. And so they will spend an infinite amount of money on this show, apparently, to make this look and feel good. And also, as we mentioned earlier, it doesn't collapse because of the acting, because the actors are so committed to the cartoonishness. Like I knew who Luffy was, and I've seen many pictures of Luffy, but the guy they got to play him, who is this relatively unknown Mexican actor,
Iñaki
he
Godoy,
just looks like the cartoon, and his mannerisms, his like bow-legged walk, his insane facial expressions.
If I can offer one word of advice, careful who you trust. The Grand Line is a dangerous place.
My God is not just for pies. It tells you who to trust.
He just looks like an anime character. It is remarkable.
It just blows my mind how whenever like a casting announcement came out for the show, they would find a human being that looked just like a human version of that cartoon character. Like Jacob Romero, who does Usopp, he is like the human Usopp. Like he looks exactly like the manga character. He can do the same expressions. Nami, obviously, Makinyu as Zoro is awesome. Oh my gosh, who did they get? Why am I Bob Manganiello is playing Mr. Zero, and if you look at him compared to like the comic character, they look identical. Like everybody just looks identical. I'm trying to remember the name of the actress that's playing Nico Robin. Let me Lyra Bova also just looks exactly like your character. They all just look like their characters. I don't know how they find these people and how they find people that simultaneously look like the characters but can also have the acting chops to pull off the characters. Yes. It is insane to me that they were able to do it in one season, but now that they've done it in 2 seasons, and there are so many characters. Monty, you have no idea. You have no idea how many characters that seem super minor right now or were just briefly introduced become major characters later. Like that's the thing that One Piece does, is you'll have this like little character that seems like a throwaway character in one episode, and then like 90 episodes later, suddenly there'll be an entire arc about them. And it's like it's crazy how characters just keep coming back, and then you go back and look and you see how things were set up like way back, like years before. It's awesome. So there's a lot of that going on too.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like this is going to stop anytime soon. I mean, we talked about the amount of episodes in this show. It's my understanding that they've managed to successfully, because each of these episodes of the live action show are an hour long. So it's my understanding they usually combine like 4 or 5 episodes into one live action episode,
at least, yeah.
To just kind of speed it up. But even in the process of speeding this up, One Piece is now, I guess, wrapping up. Like the storyline is actually concluding. Is that correct?
Sort of. So they just announced with the cartoon show, they just announced that after over 1,000 episodes, season 1 is done. And so look ahead now, season 2 is going to begin soon of the anime.
Well, but I understand the manga has entered its like final arc at this point in time.
That's what he says, but we'll see. We'll see. It's got to end at some point, but yeah, we'll see. But man, I know about the stuff that's happening in the manga now, again, just because of the card game for the most part, but like it's wild the direction things go.
But my point is that even though this is an accelerated version of that, there is just so much material that this show could go on for many, many years.
Oh yeah, that's my primary concern is like, will the actors get like too old to play these characters, or will they just burn out? I hope not. It seems like they're having a lot of fun now, but this is a show that could easily go, like 10 seasons or something. But this is also the type of show that you just go for it, and you're like, well, we don't know how long we're going to be able to do this, so we're just going to do the best we can while we're doing it, And I hope we get, a good long, stretch with this. Like again, I'm 600 something episodes into the cartoon, and I feel like I'm just getting started, to a certain extent. Although that's about roughly halfway through the cartoon. But like, I don't know. It's just there's so much in it. It's just mind-boggling just how big the universe is. Like they talked about the world government a little bit in this one, and they mentioned the 7 warlords of the sea, but you haven't really gotten to like meet any of them yet or anything like that. And then there's so many tiers of like power in this universe, where you're like, oh, the 7 warlords, they're like ultra strong, and then you're like, oh, they're not. Oh, okay, like we thought they were like the super strongest, but there's actually like another tier above them, and then it's like it's crazy. It's shonen stuff, right? It's like, it's that version of Super Saiyan, right? But like where there's always somebody
there's
stronger,
also just for every villain that you fight, there's another villain who's even stronger.
And the way that Luffy levels up over time, you haven't really seen it in the show yet, as far as like what he can truly do. But I would imagine we will next season, or no, probably not next season yet. That might be not coming until like Thriller Bark or something. There's a little teaser for you. The arc of the show called Thriller Bark. It's about it's a undead animal people. So you can see where the name comes from.
Which, if I have to say, like, part of the downside of this show is just the ridiculous Japaneseness of it, which is like, hey, I'm going to throw all of the English words into this, and it doesn't matter if they make sense or not.
That's a win.
Because it's whimsical for a Japanese audience, but it just comes out as pretty stupid for an English-speaking audience.
No, give me the guy that looks like Abraham Lincoln at the table, the council table with like all the world leaders.
Did you like the sombrero Mexican guy with
his sombrero was a cactus
sombrero?
Not since Tequila Gundam have we seen this level of shenanery. But I love it. I love it. I am 100% here for it.
Yeah, you just have to settle in and realize that this is just everything in the world viewed through a Japanese lens, and they're going to call it a shadow organization Baroque Works, and you can't think about why that is. Why would they even call it that?
I like the unique approach to the English language. I've always loved the way, because even if it's nonsensical, and even though it technically doesn't work, like just the way that words are fit together over there, you're like, oh, that kind of flows nicely. It implies things when you put it together that like that aren't necessarily true when you just read the words out, but the vibe is there. There's a lot of like vibey things in terms of like the way that English words are slammed together.
It is a postmodern nightmare where words are divorced from meaning. Yes, I too agree.
But not divorced from meaning. Well, divorced from literal
divorced
meaning.
From meaning. Yeah.
But vibe is a type of meaning. It's vibe is meaningful.
So I agree. We should just abandon specific meanings of language and just vibe speak to each other.
I didn't say. Well, I mean, that's what the internet pretty much does already. It's too late, Monty. That bridge has been crossed long ago. But I think we can have both. I think we can still have language used as it was constructed to be used, and then also language played with in an abstract form, which is what we often see from that part of the globe. And again, I love it. I'm all here for it. I loved it when I lived in Korea for a long time. You're still there right now.
I'm just saying, if the Japanese
basis.
people did this to the Japanese language, no one would like it. But because they're doing it to not Japanese, it's okay.
Yeah, please do it to my language.
You know what, DoA? I'm gonna make a Western cartoon that just does this to Japanese for fun, and we'll see how they like it.
I can't wait to see this. I can't wait. Let me know. Send me the script when it's ready. I'm very much looking forward to this. But so going back to the show a little bit, and I don't even know if we need to really even talk about the plot all that much. I mean, you should just go watch it. You should go experience it yourself. But another thing that surprised me,
I mean, the plot is also nonsense. So you're not watching this for the plot.
What surprised
this is
me
fundamentally a character and set piece driven show, and the plot. You cannot think about the plot because then you have to ask yourself the following questions: What are pirates?
Someone who tries real hard and never gives up, Monty.
Exactly, because they're calling themselves pirates, but I spent 8 hours watching this show, and they commit no acts of piracy at any point in time. And as far as I can tell, none of the other pirates are also doing piracy.
What are you talking about? Blackbeard came and ransacked the Drum Kingdom. Didn't you hear them talking about that? Yeah, that's a bad character right there, man. He's a rough. Him and his crew are not people you'd want to mess with.
Most of the pirates just seem kind of nice, and they're getting hunted by the Marines for like why do the Marines want to? Why does Captain Smoker want to stop the Straw Hats?
Because
nobody knows.
Because there's a lot of precedent for pirates doing like classical piratey things. They talk about it a lot in the show. We don't see it a lot in the show because we're mostly interacting with better pilots. But if you go back to season 1, there's a bad pirate in season 1.
But wouldn't Captain Smoker and the Marines actually be focused on the pirates who are doing the bad things instead of the pirates who are not doing the bad things?
Well, no, Smoker is focused on Luffy, not because of what Luffy does, but because of what Luffy might become. Because he reminds him of Goldie Roger, who is like the most fearsome pirate of all time, right? And so he wants to stop another Goldie Roger from coming and then ushering in another great age of piracy. That's why he's after Luffy.
Nice pirates who don't do piracy? Yeah.
No, not all of them are nice. There are some mean ones out there. Trust me.
Well, why are they all called pirates then? Why is Luffy called a pirate? He does no piracy. There is no piracy. He has a pirate
flag, doesn't he?
And also he's vibe law enforcing. So he's an officer in a system. And he is literally told, by the way, don't do this. And then he goes and does it. And then
he's a loose cannon,
his form of command. What's his second in command? The woman who just wants to collect swords? Yes.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't want to collect swords. She wants to take named swords from pirates who don't deserve them because they're doing bad things with them.
And there's literally one of the dumbest dialogue sets in this show that I think I've ever heard, where Captain Smoker is just telling her to vibe justice. It's like, well, you have to decide what your own form of justice is, and then that's how you enforce the law. I'm like, that's not what the law is.
Yeah, what are you
talking about?
What you're gonna come to understand about the Marines, Monty, is that there is a structure to the Marines and a certain code that they're expected to follow. But then you get into the fact that the Marine forces are spread out all over the world and all over the Grand Line. Many of them have devil fruit powers and like kind of their own personal armies and stuff like that too. So they kind of just do whatever they want. So the Marines
the real pirates, the Marines, the whole time. What's the difference?
I always thought of the Marines more like the Roman legions, right? Where it's like they're all technically like under the leadership of Rome, but they all have their own vibe and their own brand and style of doing things and their own wild and wacky leaders. You know, that's really what the Marines are like, you know?
And apparently the only thing that binds them together is just doing whatever they want individually without a command structure.
And not liking pirates for the most part. But yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, pretty much. But that's okay. That's okay. It gets complex.
This is what I'm saying, guys. It's like the reason why this is done is because this is a show about characters, and it has the trappings of the plot are rather irrelevant because
it's all about
they
the
are
melodrama, you know,
extremely flimsy. It is about the personal drama and the melodrama, and the structures of government and the structures of world building, I guess, are there, but they don't actually matter in any significant way. What matters is the character interaction.
I mean,
you just have to be on board.
The structures are just there to create cool character moments, right?
Well, and they're also there to create artificial conflict, such as
exactly.
Why does Captain Smoker hate the pirates? Because he's a Marine. That's the only answer.
Okay. Why do the Decepticons hate the Autobots? Who knows? And I know
yes,
some Transformers person,
show.
Probably my little brother if he's watching this. You know, he's like, well, the Transformers Giga fans are like, well, see, back in the day, Megatron was like, disagreeing politically with how the Autobots were like, no, none of that existed in the 80s show, right? They just didn't like each other, and that's fine because that's how we sell toys. And like it's the same thing here, right? Not on the toy selling front, but in that we just need a reason to have conflict and a reason to have cool character moments. And it surprised me how touching some of the character moments, were in this show, where it's like they really do a good job, I think, of making you care about each individual character, learning about their backstory over time. When you learn about like why Sanji, loves cooking and why he's so passionate about it, and it's because of him cooking for his mother when she was dying of an illness, and it's like those little moments too are like, sure, it's thick with melodrama, but it's like by intent because they want us to be attached to all these characters. And it definitely succeeds in doing that in a really great way. We do care more about Sanji, and we are cheering for him more on the cooking side of things. It's not just a weird quirk anymore. Now it's like a really important character trait, And so I love all that stuff that was included this season, where we had a good amount of that in season 1, but I think this season they did a good job of fleshing that out and giving everyone their moment,
I will say that for me, the last 3 episodes of this season dragged a little bit. It's a pretty minor complaint, but the drum story did go on a little bit too much. The Chopper story went on a little bit too long. Like there was a little bit too much of that. I'm going to give backstory.
Very cartoon accurate.
It did feel like shonen manga is obviously very famous for filler, and this felt very filler.
And extended scenes of suffering too. That's also a shonen hallmark, right?
So I was really impressed by the clip of the first half of this season. It felt like it was moving at a really good pace, but it did get dragged down just a little bit, I think, in terms of filler at the end. But also, I understand they wanted to do 8 episodes, and this was a natural concluding point after the Drum Kingdom stuff, right? So they may have just extended it maybe one more episode than it really needed to be, if we're honest.
Well, I think a lot of that was wanting to do the character right, and wanting, I feel like they spent extra time on Chopper's backstory to make you more attached to this only CG character. I get why they felt like they needed more attention to that. And so even though it did drag a little bit, I agree. I think I see why they did it, and I
also
get why they did.
And they tried to hide why he's named Chopper, because it's like so stupid that they try and bring it up and then explain it as though it literally is explained in the show that he's called Chopper because his antlers look like they could chop down trees.
Yeah, I don't remember that from the anime. Maybe I'm just misremembering that, but that I heard that and I was like, what, really? I don't remember that.
So that's what's said. And you're like, okay, that's pretty weird, Japan. And then right after that, the doctor like just slides in there. It's Tony Chopper. You're like, wait, what's the first part? What's the Tony part? And he's like, hey, that part is never explained. He's just like, that's why I'm going to call you Chopper. He's like, Chopper says, yeah, I like Chopper. And then he just comes out and says, Tony Chopper.
Tony Chopper. That's a good name. That's what I'm going to call you.
Chopper. I like it.
Okay, I guess I'm just going to accept this.
Sometimes you just add a Tony in there, when the name's not long enough, you're like, he really looks like a Jacob to me. That's too short. Tony Jacob. There we go. So the next child will be Tony.
It's just one of those moments in this show where you have to watch like white people sell something that's Giga Japanese in live action, and it just ends up being incredibly funny.
I honestly don't recall if that was ever explained in the show. It must have been, but I don't remember it. But that's one of those things where it's like, I don't think it needs to be, explained. Just have him say his name's Tony Chopper, and who cares why it is. It's like, to me, it was a little bit of like in the Solo movie when the Imperial guy's like checking him into the starport, and the guy's like, my name's Han, and he's like, oh, you've never seen this, right? You haven't seen that, I forgot. So anyway, Han Solo is checking into the starport. He's trying to leave Corellia to join the Imperial Navy to get off the planet, and the Imperial officer that's signing him up is like, what's your name? And he's like, Han, and he's like, Han what? And he's like, just Han, and the guy's like, traveling alone, Han Solo. and then all the lesser fans are like, that's why he's called Han Solo, because he was alone. And all of us who have brains are like, who cares? That didn't need to be explained. That's dumb. So to me, it was kind of a similar situation where it's like, I don't need to know why Tony Chopper is called Tony Chopper. I think the name Tony Chopper is great. You don't need to sell me on it. I already love it.
I just find it so funny that they felt the need to explain Chopper, but then 2 seconds later, just throw on a Tony and just
no
leave it there.
Explanation for Tony.
No. The explanation for Chopper was bad, but at least you tried to explain it. But you can't just like add a Tony and then walk away.
That's right. If you explain the Chopper, you got to explain the Tony. Come on. That's obvious.
Also, if you were going to explain one part of it, you would explain the Tony, not the Chopper.
Chopper, it's like there's all sorts of reasons you could name Chopper, but Tony,
exactly.
That's the intriguing part,
Is it short for Anthony? We'll never know.
Why Tony? Yeah, why not Bertram or Gregory? Why not Greg Chopper?
But I just found that part just particularly funny. And there are parts of this show that just made me laugh. Not because that one was because it was so stupid, but parts of it are just so absurd and delightful that, I mean, for example, there's a point where there's a guy with one of the most absurd wigs in this show, and he's in a fight, and all of a sudden he pulls his tie, and then all of these guns come out of his wig. And I just lost it. I just started laughing my ass off because it's so funny.
Not quite.
And obviously, I have no context with this world, so I don't expect it at all.
It took us all by surprise when it happened in the cartoon too. So, yeah.
But I mean, that's the kind of delightful and wonderful moments you will experience while watching this. Is that you just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Anything is on the table, right?
Yeah. I mean, like David,
which is really fun.
David, how do you say his name? Dastmalchian, David Dastmalchian, the guy who played Mr. 3, and he was also Polka Dot Man and Suicide Squad. Fantastic in the show, just because he's a great actor in general, but also because he just, again, fully commits to the weirdness and
his hair is a 3.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Why not? I mean, they all have the
and if you're just listening to
this
and you can't conceptualize these things, I encourage you to look it up,
because there's no way your brain can actually conceptualize this
when
stuff.
I say his hair is a 3, you are not imagining it like it is.
His hair is literally a 3. Yeah. Just wait till you meet Mr. 2. Oh my goodness. It's just the greatest characters. I don't know. So this show really does have like some of the greatest characters in the history of anime. Like so many of them.
I'm just so surprised, DoA, that this is the show that they obviously, with the popularity as we discussed, and it makes sense that they could go for this because there's a huge fan base that will get behind this, especially because Oda has included himself and is signing off on everything. So it gives the fandom a lot of confidence, I think.
Right.
And so clearly there's a large number of people who want to see this, which means the show can potentially, the ceiling of the show's success is very high. But it is so ambitious to select this material out of, and especially after, my God, all the failures of Cowboy Bebop and
don't get me started.
The live action stuff they've attempted before, Death Note, right? Yeah. And then to take this, which is by far the most difficult thing you could try and put in live action, is, I think, impressive in its chutzpah.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, no show on television goes harder. Like in terms of just fully sending, as the kids say, they full send this one, and it works out. They've crushed it. It is fantastic. I wanted to mention this show's commitment to random ultraviolence as well from time to time, where it's just like, hey, if it's in the show, if Zoro kills 100 people, he's going to kill 100 people. You know, I love that. I love that when the two giants are giving them a send off from Little Garden, and the giant Sea King is going to swallow their ship, instead of like the wave coming and just like vaulting their ship over it or moving out of the way, it just blows a hole straight through the middle of the fish, and then they sail through it. Like, it's just stuff like that. I just love. I love that the show just like does not pull any punches, you know?
If you're watching One Piece, it'll be available everywhere on Netflix because it's a Netflix exclusive. But you may not know that Netflix has more than 18,000 titles globally, but only about 7,000 of those are available in the United States. So you're missing out on thousands of movies and shows, especially if you're here on the LFN Movies channel. This means that many movies that you might want to watch that we discuss on our shows are probably already on a streaming service that you subscribe to, that you pay for. You just can't access them. Well, that's where ExpressVPN can be extremely helpful, because you can just look it up online, where this movie is streaming in which countries, find a country that has it, VPN to that country, log into Netflix, and there it is for your viewing pleasure. I know I use this in Korea to access the accounts that I pay for things like HBO, right, that aren't available in Korea, but I still want to watch things like Night of the Seven Kingdoms that we reviewed here on Nerd Legion. So really, instead of renting these things or not being able to watch them, you could actually save money because ExpressVPN is extremely cheap. It's the lowest price ever right now. Plans start at just $3.49 a month, and that's only 12 cents a day. It's incredibly easy to use. All you have to do is run the app in the background of your phone and just hit a button, and you're always connected. This is very useful, especially as you're walking in and out of public Wi-Fis where you may not want your data scraped. So that makes a big difference as well. Plus, it just runs in the background of your PC. You can even install it on certain routers and get your whole network over on ExpressVPN. So super useful. It's rated #1 by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge. I've never had speed problems with this whatsoever. I literally don't even notice it's on when I'm using it. So even if I'm VPNing across the Pacific Ocean to America, it's so fast. So ExpressVPN is a very useful tool for you, not only for privacy reasons, but to access content you are already paying for. And if you are a film or TV buff, as many of you are on this channel, then it's kind of, in my opinion, a no-brainer. So really happy to have ExpressVPN as a sponsor. Be smart, stop paying full price for streaming services and only getting access to a fraction of their content. Get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/nerdlegion. Don't forget to use our link at expressvpn.com/nerdlegion to get up to 4 extra months of ExpressVPN. And thanks very much for sponsoring us here. And I saw people complaining about our discussion of Night of the Seven Kingdoms, where we were saying like the puerile humor, and people are like, "Oh, you guys, you
of course,
you can't handle like
they don't get why we're
criticizing it. It just doesn't do anything thematically for the show, and it feels really out of place
because we're not even talking about the content itself. We're talking about the placement of the content in the show. Yeah,
and also it had no connection to the themes. It just was there for shock value for no reason. Like
we knew people wouldn't
I can handle
that,
some.
So.
Yeah, I don't mind really puerile or violent things as long as they're in service of the content, which is why I'm going to bring up the following, which I found disappointing. And this is going to sound very strange considering I curse on this show. I think the cursing in this show is really unfortunate. And the reason why is because I have a kid that I think might actually really like this, right? And I'm reluctant. It felt like Chopper saying shit was just like there for shock value because he's a cute little
a bit forced,
animal,
doesn't it?
And it felt really forced to me. And I think the upside, there wasn't enough impact of doing it to, now I have to think about, do I show my kid this show at 6 years old? You know what I mean?
Not if you don't want him saying shit all the time, I suppose.
Well, but you know what I mean? Like, and then I have to explain it and all this other stuff. And for the most part, the show, it has combat, but it doesn't have a lot of blood, right? And so for me, I just want it to commit. Like, if you want to have him say shit, then just show me more blood in the show, right? I don't have a problem with this show being potentially violent, right, as a concept, but it just feels like a very bizarre choice to make with the overall content,
because it's so much, and like I don't recall that being a part of, to that extent. I don't recall it being a big part of like the anime or the manga either.
I was going to ask if he curses in the anime or not.
Not anywhere near as much as if at all. I'm struggling to even remember one instance of it. I think there is some in the show, but I definitely not to the amount that we see it in the Netflix show and the live action show. So that is one thing that did stand out to me too, that it just seemed like very not randomly inserted, and I'm not quite sure why. But
it feels really out of place with the rest of the show tonally. That's why I was just kind of like, it doesn't bother me. It makes me think twice about showing this to a kid, which I think is unfortunate because this is this could be a show that you can show to kids, right? It's it's not, like I said, it's not super violent or anything. It has a lot of interesting. It clearly
I
is
almost wonder if they're
designed for children as a medium.
I wonder if they're having so much swearing in it for the purpose of pushing it out of that realm intentionally, because there are moments where it does get a little bit gory here and there, but because there's not pervasive violence, but there are definitely fairly violent moments where things get blown apart, like the one, what is it, Miss 11 or whatever. No, what's her name? The baseball lady. Smoker kills her by like hitting her with a baseball in the throat, and like so there is stuff like that, but not a ton. So I almost wonder if it feels like the swearing is forced just to sort of like push it farther into the not for kids realm, because of the other things that happen. I don't know. It does feel a little bit puzzling to me too. And I don't recall it being so pervasive in the other versions of the show too. So that I agree. That is the one thing that kind of stands out as being just like a little bit off-putting. Again, mostly for the reason that it just isn't in the other versions as much as it is here. Like, they were treating like shit as like Tony Chopper's catchprise basically in the last few episodes.
Yeah, that's why it was weird.
It's definitely not in the show by any stretch, so that was weird to me too.
But in any case, like, I think if you are like me and you're coming to this and you enjoy, you would not normally watch this, I would say just watch a couple episodes and see if you're into it or not, because I found it to be quite delightful and just extremely well crafted. And while it's not necessarily my favorite thing of all time, and it's definitely not something that I would normally watch, I'll probably keep watching this because it is really fun to see, and just the level, it is very successful at reaching its own goals, right?
Yeah.
It is really good at what it does. You can bounce off what it does, and I do to a certain degree, but I also respect and understand that this is actually probably the highest possible quality of a live action anime that you could have, especially in the shonen variety. Honestly, though, it makes me wonder if they're going to attempt Naruto at some point in time as well.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is like anyone who does a live action anime adaptation after this has a bar that's been set that is incredibly high. I mean, this is the pinnacle of the medium so far as live action anime adaptation.
I'm glad you brought this up, because actually a few days ago, Tomorrow Studios, who is the production company behind One Piece, has announced that they are adapting Samurai Champloo into live action.
Oh,
so it's possible that Tomorrow Studios is just going to take over, as a principal production company behind live action anime adaptations, which, given what they have done, seems like a very good thing. We did Samurai Champloo. We did a review of that on this channel already as part of our samurai content coming into Ghost of Yote.
Right.
And it's fine. It does make me wish we could have had a good live action version of Cowboy Bebop. I'm intrigued to see what they could do. I think there's a lot you could do to fix the problems with Samurai Champloo. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. Like Samurai, when we reviewed it too, I hadn't realized the first time I watched it just like how flawed it was, and it was still good, but it had a lot of issues. And
Yeah, it's
I
a
think
flawed
that's
gem for sure.
It's a perfect kind of show for a live action adaptation of it because
you can fix a lot of the problems.
Yeah, and you don't even need to go quite as crazy with all the costuming and stuff like that that you do with a show like One Piece. Samurai Champloo is a lot closer to reality in that sense. Well, the one thing that show really needs to maintain is like the insane fight choreography level that the anime had, So yeah,
and you can also do a lot
Hope
of
they do a
really
good
cool
job.
things, I think, with editing and hip hop,
Oh, yeah.
production that could be very, very cool in that show. So I just think it was interesting that they just announced this. So obviously, this production company, Tomorrow Studios, is doing really good work, and they're expanding and they're getting more shows that they can actually manage. So I'm if at least it will be as good as the anime, I would say. Which is not my favorite anime.
Lower bar, but yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a little One Piece live action factoid. Did you notice this, that the actress that played Dr. Kureha, Katie Sagal, was the same person that played Leela in Futurama?
Oh, really? That makes a lot of sense.
Yep, there you go. I didn't realize it, but then I'm like, oh yeah, the voice fits. Yep. Man, the casting was so great. She looks exactly
it's just
like
also
the character from the show too.
The musical stings that they do with the guitar riff where she shows up looking like hard drinking biker grandma with the whiskey bottle always in her
Right.
hand.
That'd be me. I'm Korea.
And the music is just so well deployed. Like you have the little leitmotifs when characters come on. Even at the start of the show, when you have the like One Piece theme with the One Piece logo that comes up that changes based on the content of that particular show to like be themed around a different character every time. It's just so delightful. It's just every part of this show is so well considered and constructed. And they spared no expense. They also make hilarious references to other films in the titles. They literally, in the Jurassic Park moment, do the scene from Jurassic Park with the dinosaur reveal, where it's the camera is on Luffy and Vivi. And then they reverse the shot to show the sauropods in exactly the same method. So they're making jokes about like visual gags about other films and other content. It's very clever.
Yeah, and then you have Sanji kicking a T-Rex to death, which is just great. And that's before he like breaks an attack vulture's neck with his feet too, and stomps a cat to death too. But the cat was trying to kill otter. Yeah, it was an otter. It has a clamshell thing. You're right. The unluckies. Yeah, I'm sorry, One Piece fans. I'm sorry I said it was a cat. I meant otter. Either way, that scene was great as well because it's just so ridiculous, and then just seeing him fight these things is great because there's like he's in real mortal danger too.
This is just the show, guys. There is literally a scene. I'm going to describe the scene to you, and if you
can't wait for this,
you are either going to be in or out based on the description of this scene. Sanji is a character who smokes all the time with blonde hair over one of his eyes, who's the ship's cook. He fights, but he will only kick. He does not use his hands. So everything is kicking. He is inside a house made of candle wax, talking to a man through a voice changer on a snail phone, attempting to figure out who he is. Simultaneously, there is a vulture with aviator goggles on that is equipped with 2 miniguns that is shooting Gatling rounds at the house, being piloted by a sea otter in pajamas, who is then fought by the man who can't punch, only can kick, and he kills them both. The vulture and the otter.
It's great. Yeah, and you're in. That's right?
Just every moment of this show.
You have to be in at that point, Yeah.
And yet somehow, if you're watching the show, this all does in fact make some amount of sense.
Yeah, like it's like you said at the beginning of our talk about this. Like once you're a couple episodes in, your brain just accepts the world, and that anything you see on the screen is that's just the way it is. That's not weird. That's just the way it is now. you've got a city guard dude that, he can turn into a buffalo person, because he can, and you're like, okay, yeah, sure.
Captain
He's got a devil
Smoker
fruit
turns
too.
into smoke and always is smoking not one cigar, but two.
Exactly. And instead of like, he's got all these bullet bandoliers, but they're all filled
But
with
it's
cigars
also-
on his coat.
What I also just love is the humor where the characters themselves acknowledge how stupid it is. So Captain Smoker gets asked how many he goes through every week, which is funny because he's always smoking 2 cigars, right? Or when he's fighting the baseball lady, he's like, stop making baseball jokes. Because she comes in and she starts using all these stupid baseball puns, and he's like, stop doing that.
Yeah. And he kills her, and then he's like, looks like time for you to hit the bench. And he's like, nah, now she's got me doing it.
Hit the bench. Now she's got me doing it. So much for taking one alive.
I know,
So
it's just really funny. So it's also the level of self-awareness in some of the dialogue is very humorous, because it's not one of those James Bond things where in the Roger Moore James Bond, he just says the most ridiculous shit and nobody even bats an eye. In this, people do and say ridiculous things, and then the other characters will comment on how dumb it is, and then they'll just be like, yeah, but I'm doing it, and then you just move on.
The other thing you might have noticed is a hallmark of One Piece is all the ridiculous laughs that people have. Like that is like an intentional thing in the show, is that people just have randomly ridiculous laughs that just
The giants come to mind.
Yeah, that just keeps happening, where like so many characters in the show have laughs that just like don't, they would never be a laugh you would hear come out of a normal human being. But it is in this show. Every bad guy basically has a very distinctive laugh. So get ready for that.
There you go. We had some requests to cover this. I saw online.
And I loved season 1. I couldn't wait to watch season 2. I can't wait to watch season 3. They're already making it. When they did like the trailer, when they dropped the trailer for this season, it was attached to an announcement that season 3 was in development. So they're already good to go for season 3, which was going to be probably the Alabasta arc, I would imagine, which is it's where things get real, we'll say. But it's great. If you know One Piece, you know what I'm talking about. But then after that, it just gets even better. Where do we go from Alabasta? I think after Alabasta is Thriller Bark, if I remember right. Do we do the Foxy mini arc, though? That's the question I've got for the viewers out there. Foxy Pirates mini arc, yay or nay? My vote's kind of nay, but he's a popular character. Monty has no idea what I'm talking about, but if you know, you know. we'll just leave that out there. Yep.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us this week. We will see you next week for more. Till then.